Hey friends, welcome to another episode of my writing journal. I just got out of my writing sprint for the day and I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but it was still a very good day. So I went into this session thinking I was working more on my world building. So thinking about the names of the clans and the realm and answers to questions about the magic and things like that. And I did do a little bit of that, but what ended up happening, which was really fun. And I love it when I have these like lightning bolt moments where I figure out something big and it's going to end up triggering a lot of other decisions and things like that and it's something that I was struggling with. So I'm glad that I hit that, even though it wasn't my plan today, but it's been haunting me. So anyway, what happened was I started thinking about an accident. I started thinking about the overarching plot, I guess is the best way of saying it. If you think about a series, and I liken this to like a Harry Potter concept, if you think about that was a lot of books and there had to be something that happened in each book that gave you resolution, and yet you still wanted to read the next one. So each one had to be a small story in itself, and then you wanted to keep reading because there's an overall story happening. So because this idea started as one book, I really only had the plot for the first one, or what was going to happen, what was going to be the story and the resolution of this first book. That is what I had. And so what I needed to do is figure out what is going to keep people reading for the rest of the series. What is the overarching plot? And I don't have that exact thing pinpointed, but what I figured out is the structure of, I'm trying not to give away too much, which is why this is kind of vague. What I figured out is what the structure is. And so I think that will allow me to make the decision for each individual book and henceforth the overarching plot. And so I think the best way to describe it is that the first book is going to introduce you to the world, the magical system, the concept of their gods, and how their world works and things like that. And there's going to be something big that happens that triggers events and chasing and hunting down and things like that. And I'm hoping that that gets resolved towards the end where you feel like, okay, that's okay. However, because there was this trigger event that caused all of this chasing and hunting and whatnot, other things happened as a result. And while the one thing was resolved, these other things got triggered, and now those things are going to have to get resolved. And so that is how the other stories are going to evolve, is that it wasn't just this one thing that happened because of this trigger event. All of these other things occurred as well. And so therefore there's a larger problem. So one thing gets resolved, but there's other messes to clean up, essentially. Not like a genius revelation in general. There are plenty of stories where that's kind of what happens, but you still have to figure out where you're going with it. And so I was really happy that that is a place that I got to, that I kind of started figuring out. And I started writing down some questions about what are the consequences of this trigger event, what could potentially happen in the world that would cause additional strife and problems and things like that that will need to get resolved in the future and down the line through these other books. So I was really excited about that kind of lightning moment. I think it's going to trigger a lot from a figuring out the rest of the storylines for the rest of the books. And that's good. And because the more you understand, this is what I'm learning. Hopefully I'm not, completely wrong here, but I feel like this will really help me lay the groundwork for this book of what part of the story gets told, what details to leave out, and what will be introduced at a later time, so that each story is still a story within itself and interesting enough that each one will be able to stand as a story in itself, even though they're all going to be connected. Also, small thing, as you know, I'm really enjoying using Plotter, and so I really started organizing in my Plotter as well, getting that a lot more knocked out. I really need to start moving out of my Word document that I have, because what's happening is that because I'm putting information in a couple of different places, I am not consistent. So I had one term that I was saying Starkin star STAR space KIN. I was saying starkin, starkin, starkin for a very long time, and then that is listed out in a lot of places. But I decided later I wanted it to be star kindred. And so now, because I've put starkin in this place, in this place, in this place, now I have to go back and I have to be consistent, and I need to get out of this Word document that I'm in so that I have less places where I'm spreading things, and trying to get more into my plotter and eventually into Scrivener. When I start more into that writing space, I want to really only be in the plotter and the Scrivener for all of the story ideas and things like that. So that's something that I'm learning. The Word doc was great to get started and throw ideas and start asking questions and things like that. But I think now that questions are answered, it's time to get out of that so I'm not spread out so much across my different tools. So a little piece of learning there, if that's helpful. All right, I'm gonna go. This has already gotten too long, but that's me. So hopefully this is enjoyable and fun to be part of my journey, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.